My name is Mark Caserta, and I'm the Executive Director of the Park Slope with Avenue BID. We're in charge of Open Streets. We're the ones who kind of put this one together. So Open Streets allows you to get a permit and some barricades from the city, close the block to street, car and bus traffic, and the idea is for restaurants and stores to come out and people to use the street. A, it's to make more money for the businesses who have been struggling throughout all the pandemic. But B, it's to give the community who are here for the weekend a little more open space and somewhere to have some fun. So last year, in April of last year, I had a couple of restaurants asking me because they only had takeout and delivery, but they weren't making enough money. Can we put some tables and chairs in the street? Can we close the block to traffic? By the time we finished in 2020, we had 18 blocks closed to traffic. In 2021, we were going to start in April. In February, the bars and restaurants asked me if we could start by March 13th. The reason is they had a really cold and difficult winter, really rough. But also they felt like they were making the most money they've ever made when the streets were closed to traffic. They were describing how Open Streets actually saved them from closing, and they're doubling and tripling their revenue. So we said, yes, we can do that, but when we started running numbers, we knew we needed staff. You know, Joanna and I worked for 25 weeks last year, 13 hours a day, to keep Open Streets running, and we didn't think we can do it this year. We'd be like 50 weeks. So the restaurants were able to raise $20,000. Most of the rest of the money actually came from the local community. Sometimes it was a big amount online, and sometimes it was $10. And we are eternally grateful for each one. And then Con Edison became a sponsor. Corcoran became a sponsor, and actually was the sponsor that got us to $50,000. We needed maybe $2,000 to get there, and they came and gave it to us at the right moment. And we have professional staff, and we have these signs, which will allow us to get people to think about not only what's on the block that they're standing on, but what's beyond. So Hudson Radio has actually reached out to us and said, look, we are a company that does radios for movie sets and big events. We have all these radios because there isn't as much happening in New York City, but we're huge fans of Open Streets. Would you be interested if we kind of gave you some radios to run your operation? And, you know, I asked some of our supervisors that we hired, and they said, my God, that would be so helpful. And what it allows us to do is mostly to coordinate the opening and closing of blocks. We do talk to each other during the day, but it's really helpful because actually the initial closing and opening of the blocks is the most dangerous part of the day. And when you're able to talk to each other and say, okay, ready to go, and you do it in a coordinated way by talking on the radio, you can do it safely. It just seems to have a life of its own and grow on its own. I think people just like to be able to come out. They like the interaction with other people. They like being able to eat outside, have a drink outside. It's such a break from what happened last year. So actually people have asked us, what's going to happen to Open Streets when eating indoors goes to 100%? Well, it's not going away because people love to be outside. That's a New York thing, you know? And it used to be that you need a sidewalk cafe license, which is super expensive and difficult to get, lots of bureaucracy, thousands of dollars. And here we have something that's basically free that happens every Saturday and allows everybody to participate. And so it's a great way to not only live out that like outdoor dining fantasy that we have all had, but also put more money into the pockets of the businesses.